This is TWiT.
We'll start with you, Philip. We all saw the event. A lot of products announced, a lot of non-surprises. Many of the rumors were true. We also had some details coming out that were not rumored, or at least the facts as revealed were not as rumored. What strikes you, just looking at the 10,000-foot view from this announcement, that surprised you the most? What did Apple announce that you thought, wow, I didn't see that one coming?
Well, we all knew that there was going to be something about the watch because spring forward and daylight savings time and all that. Surprisingly, the biggest news and the news that affected the market the most was the new MacBook. Really skinny, really light, hardly any ports, new kind of haptic feedback touchpad. And the market went wild. Apple's stock price zoomed when they talked about the Mac. And they actually, I think, I didn't time it, but I think they spent more time talking about the Macs than they did about the watch. Now, because the watch was introduced in September, in about 12 minutes. So we got a little taste of what the watch was going to do. We never got to actually use it. So the news on the watch was really, okay, what kind of apps do we have? And they did a pretty good demo, a day in the life of and showing all the different ways you can open your garage door and all that kind of stuff. And then they got to the meat of it, which was the pricing. And it was interesting that the rumors were pretty much right. They started $349. We knew that, and it's $50 more for the larger one. The gold one starts at $10,000. We didn't get the top price, what the gold is going to cost with the most expensive band, but $20,000 is possible. John Gruber, who put out a price list 2 days ago or 3 days ago, pretty much had it right, but he was wrong about what may be the most important, which is the steel one. He thought it was going to start at like $800, I think, and instead it starts at $549 for the smaller version and $600 for the larger. That is the one that I was thinking of buying. I think it was a lot of people who are considering buying a watch and are willing to put up some money to have one that's going to last for a while. We're thinking about the steel, and that's probably where they're going to make their biggest margin. What hasn't been answered, and we may not know for some years, is whether these things are upgradable, whether the Chinese billionaires who plop down $10,000 for the gold one are going to have to turn it in, buy a new one in 2 years when Apple releases the new version. We don't know.
Phil, thank you for that. I want to jump over to Christina. I got a question for you. As we were warming up for the show, we were talking a little bit about the applications here in the software development kits. Christina, did anything here really catch you in terms of the apps they showed for the watch and or other software development kits they announced today?
Well, before they even started talking about the watch, they gave us a little bit of background on something they're calling Research Kit, which is a new platform for medical research. And I was really excited to see that because it really means that rather than focusing on well-being and overall health, that Apple is looking at tackling chronic disease. And they mentioned Parkinson's and asthma and a few others. So Apple's announced that they're partnering up with medical institutions like Stanford, and they've already been working behind the scenes on some apps that can track whether it's your heart rate, your movement, all kinds of things that would be relevant for someone who had a serious medical condition. So now we're seeing the iPhone become a medical diagnostic tool. So that's very interesting. And I would love to see kind of going forward how Apple conducts those relationships, what they're going to announce next, and how they deal with some of the privacy and regulatory aspects of this that might be a bit more tricky.
Christina, just to follow up on that, I thought it was kind of an interesting side note in terms of Apple's culture. Famously, Steve Jobs did not like to do what a lot of technology companies, deep pocket technology companies like to do, which is, donate a bundle of money. Facebook, for example, Mark Zuckerberg is donating, millions of dollars to schools and other causes. And Apple and Steve Jobs in particular always resisted that and said, we make the world a better place by building products that are better. And it was that sort of line of thinking always kind of fell flat, especially as Apple grew in wealth and the amount of cash that they have on hand. And now we're into the Tim Cook, years into the Tim Cook version of Apple. And here they are. They've seemed to have found a way to both honor the sort of attitude that Steve Jobs had about making the world better through products, and also making the world better outside the world of products through their products, if you know what I mean. So ResearchKit is basically leveraging the user base of the iPhone and presumably Apple Watch world, and adding to research with these, we still don't know. One of the things we probably should talk about at some point is the quality of the sensor on the back that measures the biometrics. But here they are, they're contributing to science in some way. Do you think that this is something that they are going to be building as a business, where they're going to make money, or is this a form of philanthropy for Apple? What is your feeling on that?
I definitely do not think that healthcare for Apple is a charitable endeavor. It's a massive multi-trillion-dollar market in the US. And Apple is not the only technology company right now that is thinking about making strides in health, particularly given kind of all of the buzz around mobile health. And for the very first time, people with an iPhone can actually contribute data to their doctors and say, this is how I'm faring, this is how I'm eating, this is how many steps I'm walking every day. So I think Apple is really just jumping on a big trend. And, perhaps it's going to lead to even more sales. For Apple, it's, the bottom line is usually how can we sell more devices, mainly iPhones. So they're building up these systems in healthcare that sort of lock in the electronic medical companies, the device companies, and the iPhone users. And it becomes, a system that's really about the iPhone. It's an Apple ecosystem in healthcare. I also think that, even before sort of Tim Cook really started to make moves in health and make announcements, Steve Jobs, towards the end of his life, became interested in health and had sort of long conversations with his doctor about why the industry was such a mess. So I think healthcare is personal, and at a certain point, executives will find that they have an experience where they will see and notice kind of that there is a lot wrong with health. It's still very archaic in many ways. And I think, Silicon Valley is starting to think, what can we do? How can we be involved to kind of fix this problem?